What's up, War Report family? It's your guy, Ike Jones, man. We are here. Another morning drop. We're trying to talk a little bit about the NCAA Tournament. Auburn, a ninth seed in Birmingham, facing Iowa. This is a more exhaustive conversation about it. We talked about it a little bit last night, but hey, man, we need to dive a little bit deeper. Y'all know what time it is. Let's go ahead and drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Morning drop time, Monday, March the 13th. Your man Ike Jones here with B. Will talking a little March Madness. Auburn going dancing despite a lot of people's insistence that we would be headed to the NIT. But we are here.
Yeah.
Time to get to it. B. Will, how you feeling this morning?
Feeling all right, man. It's wild. The preseason number one didn't even make the tournament, and then declined the NIT invite.
It was like, hey, listen, man, we don't deserve it. We're not doing nothing this all season but regrouping.
Wow. And here Auburn is with losing a lot of talent. Didn't get exactly what they needed in the offseason, but we here, man. We here with an opportunity to play a team who is, listen, we don't have to be a top 10 team to be in the tournament. This is supposed to be the 68 best.
Yeah.
There are 20 to 30 teams worse than Auburn. Glad we in the field, get a chance to get some wins and show that Bruce has been doing a very good coaching job this year.
Yeah.
Just considering the talent he has.
Yeah, listen, man, Coach Pearl has done an amazing coaching job this year. I understand the deficiencies but this is what I've been saying is that the deficiencies that people see or perceive has been the way Coach Pearl has been coaching his entire career. Like this isn't, he didn't just all of a sudden start saying, I trust my guards to go down here and make a shot at the end of the game. He didn't all of a sudden start not calling timeouts when other teams were making runs. He didn't all of a sudden start doing any of the number of things that people have complained. Oh, Coach Pearl isn't like, y'all just started watching basketball, huh? Like you didn't recognize them as deficiencies because he got away with it, right?
Because
like,
it worked.
Yeah, it's always been a thing that he's done.
Yeah.
I guess one could say, well, it's time to change it because it's not working this season. But I don't know. There's nuance to that conversation, and we can definitely have it. But while you guys are here, make sure you're going ahead and sharing the video. We're at the War Report. Hashtag get your weight up as always. Let people know what's up. We're out here in these internet streets doing our thing, and we appreciate everybody who continues to support. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Those things help us. If you're rewatching this later, go ahead and give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you hate it. I mean, I guess that's fine too. You know, some people for some reason give thumbs down on videos because they're like, oh, I hate what you're saying. Like you could have just kept scrolling. But hey, thumbs down is fine too. You know, listen, it's there for you to utilize. Leave your comments though. If you are so adamant that you want to click the thumbs down, let's argue in the comment section. I'm down for a lively argument as long as you have a good point.
Hey, man, listen, y'all, okay. When we tell y'all to leave comments, Ike will read all the comments.
I literally read every single comment that people leave on these videos.
And 5 hours from now, after the broadcast, when you have left your comment, Ike will look. He will put this in our Slack, our group chat. Man, y'all look at this comment. Me and this person finna go at it, and then he will comment back and forth with you for as long as you are willing to. So yes, your comments get read and they get discussed and they may get engaged with. Come on with it.
Yeah, listen, man, I have no problem when it's like you have an actual point, right? Like if you have an actual point, whether you agree or disagree, I'm willing to have the conversation. As soon as I see, oh, you just being silly, then I'll be like, okay. You can have it. No problem. You didn't actually intend to have a real conversation here. I'm absolutely okay with that too. Have a wonderful day. What I'm not going to do is argue with you over some BS. My Twitter activity should tell you that. People start trying to troll me on Twitter. I don't even acknowledge it. I'm like, oh, all right. I asked the other day on Twitter. This ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about right now.
Come on.
I asked the other night on Twitter. I was like, who's the best dressed coach in the SEC? Right? Who's the best dressed coach? Some people responded and gave an answer. They was like, oh, I like the way that Stackhouse dresses. Oh, Buzz, you know, Dennis Gates. And I was like, all right, cool. Somebody was like, nobody cares. I said, okay. If you don't care, why did you comment? Like you could have just kept scrolling. Like it's really easy. Like when I do it on my phone, like my thumb just naturally keeps scrolling past stuff I don't care to engage with. Like if you ain't care, why you just didn't have to say nothing.
Haters.
Like just whatever. Anyway, we talking basketball because Auburn's dancing, baby. As somebody, again, there is one handsome fella with a nice salt and pepper beard that said that this was how it was how this was gonna go. You know what I'm saying? I said how this was gonna go. A few things that I would like to come back and do a look quick victory dance before we talk about the game. I think before the season even started, the question was asked of us, would Auburn be back as a number 1 overall ranking at some point during this season? I said, I don't think so. It's difficult to do that, and we haven't built that kind of pedigree yet in the program. We lost a lot in this offseason, and I said, in fact, I expect for Auburn to lose at least 10 games this season. Auburn lost 11.
Yes, you were very consistent with that.
I said that before I saw them play us. This is before we even went to Israel. I said this about my expectations for this season. I also said very early in this season that I thought Missouri was going to be a good team in this conference. I think Missouri proved me. I also said very early in this season, guys, I think Bama's actually really good this year. Like, I know y'all don't want to hear this, but they can actually play basketball. They're better than last year's team, and they're going to be able to play a little bit better defense. They could always score. Bama's going to be good this year. It happened.
Yeah.
I also said very early in this season, and I still believe this to be true despite what happened in the tournament, that I think Texas A&M is going to be a very good team this year. And I still think that they are one of the more talented teams in this league.
Absolutely. They are. Buzz is a good coach. He's a coach I've been watching since he was coaching at Marquette. I think he went from Marquette to Virginia Tech to Texas A&M is, I think, the path he took. But regardless, his teams have been playing like this, the way Texas A&M plays, since he was at Marquette, which is when I knew that he was a coach. He's a good coach. He is a coach. I would put him in the category of a Bruce Pearl. Now, he hasn't had the success where Bruce Pearl's done it with 2 different SEC teams, took 2 different teams to the Sweet 16. He hasn't done that yet. But Bruce is still, Buzz is that caliber of coach. Texas A&M has a good one. We're going to have to be jockeying with them for a good long while here. And we can tip our hat to people when they're good. I know a lot of people got their feelings hurt because they took us out of the tournament, that first game last year. Listen, I don't have any malice for somebody actually being good. If you're good, you're good. I just want to beat the teams that are good. So we can give them their flowers and their respect. And you were right on with that one. Texas A&M was a good team.
Listen, man, your boy Ike ain't going to steer you wrong about basketball. I'm not. The basketball is now, I know football, but I love basketball. I ain't going to steer you wrong about no basketball stuff, man. All right. Anyway, so let's talk about this game. If you guys follow me on Twitter, again, the @ handle's right down here in the bottom corner. But if you follow me on Twitter, I threw out a bunch of stats last night, a bunch of things. I was just going through trying to find information on Iowa. What have they done this season? What have they done relative to like looking at Auburn's resume? And a couple of things that I found that were interesting, right? So Auburn has, and I think we are tied for, Justin Ferguson, I think, confirmed this on Twitter, for the most number of games versus teams that made it to the tournament with 17. 17 games versus tournament qualified opponents. Auburn went 7-10 in those games.
Yeah.
That's a pretty, like, for people who have been repeating that Auburn plays a fluff schedule, I don't know how you can look like there are people who said, oh, Auburn hasn't played anybody when we were out of conference. Colgate, Northwestern, Memphis, USC all made the tournament.
Yeah.
Teams that Auburn played.
Yeah.
Went 2-2 versus those teams. Auburn played all of those teams.
So
SEC.
St. Louis didn't make it?
No, they didn't.
I thought they okay. I didn't check on their conference. I didn't know if they made it or not.
Yeah,
okay.
no, they did. But I mean, St. Louis is in one of those conferences that you've got to win the tournament in order to get the bid. Like, I don't think that they played well enough in the season to get some sort of automatic berth via their resume.
Right.
They would have needed to beat us, right? Like they would have needed to do some other things to bolster their resume, and then they didn't win their conference. So
yeah,
St. Louis did not get the bid.
Mm-hmm.
But again, St. Louis, another good quality team out of conference that Auburn played. Like, they're not an easy out by any means. When you look at Iowa, though, Iowa had 11 games against teams qualified for the conference. Now, to be fair, a lot of this is bolstered by the fact that Auburn plays in the SEC, and the SEC had 8 teams get in, right? Like you play all of those teams, some of those teams multiple times. Tennessee, Texas A&M, Alabama played twice. Arkansas played twice. So that does increase the number that we get to have as far as people who are qualified for the tournament. Let's make no mistake about that. But it does show, again, the strength of Auburn in conference, doing fairly well. I mean, we could have definitely done better within conference, but doing fairly well within conference against those teams, and Iowa playing less teams that were qualified outside of conference. The only non-conference opponent I think that Iowa had on their schedule that they played that's tournament qualified was Duke, and they lost that game. I'm trying to think back through. No, excuse me. They played Southeastern Missouri State as well, which is one of the field of 68 teams. So they're in that final, or that last 4 in play-in game. And they won that game. So they had 2 opponents that were outside. Only common opponent being Northwestern, which is a Big Ten team as well. They split their games against Northwestern. Auburn won our game against Northwestern. So there is some commonality amongst opponents, and strength of schedule. Auburn has a tougher higher strength of schedule rating. The one thing I will say about this Iowa team when looking at them that Auburn fans should be, I guess, worried about is they like to play with pace. They want to get they really want to push the tempo, and they score the basketball a lot. They like to get out there and transition. The reason why I say we should be worried about that is just watching what we just did against Arkansas and seeing how Arkansas would push even after misses. Listen, Iowa's going to push after makes. Make basket, they're going to push the tempo. They want to get into the half court and score early. Auburn's going to need to play really solid transition defense and then gather rebounds.
Yes.
You play solid transition defense and you get the rebound, it could get ugly quickly because their possessions are going to be short, right? They're going to short possessions, and you go down here on the other end and you don't turn the ball over, and you grind down the clock on the opposite end. That's your path to victory. Get back on defense, secure the defensive rebound. Like, offensive rebounds doesn't need to be like a high priority for Auburn in this game. And that sounds crazy to say, but just get a quality look. If you miss, get back. Because they're going to want to push tempo. If you can grind it into a half court game, I think you have an opportunity to beat Iowa handily, as long as you're keeping them off of the offensive glass. I don't know. Have you had an opportunity to look at Iowa at all since the announcement, or have you looked at them at all this season?
I bet them a couple times, so I was keeping up with the games, and high scoring team. Their games were bet to hit the over. Auburn's over under, depending on who we play, was going to be anywhere between upper 120s for a total between both teams in that game, or lower 140s. It's kind of where we peaked at. Iowa's was constantly in the 150 and above their point total, which means they were going to not only score, but they're going to give up points as well. Because, again, they're scoring quickly, so they're giving the ball back. Other teams get a chance to do more scoring than they usually do for that reason. So pace of play was faster. And so here's where we talked about this a little bit on the show yesterday. We were talking about football, though. We were talking about how should you be balanced and what the value of balance is in offense, right? Specifically, if you run the ball, everybody's, we need to run the ball. What if you're not built to run the ball? Right. Teams who are built to run the ball, again, when you hear this on broadcast, they're down big now. They're not necessarily built for a comeback. It's because, yes, we know you have a quarterback and wide receivers. You can pass the ball, but that's not what you do. And because you don't do it frequently enough, you don't do it well. Auburn is in a similar position here. It's not that we can't score, because when we have played at pace or against some of the teams that we blew them out, we actually scored more points than I expected us to.
Even in some of our losses this season, we scored 70-some points, right? So we can score. We can score.
I don't think that's going to be our issue. I would hope that the first half against Arkansas would be kind of the warning bell for these guys, because I don't think our ability to come back in that game was indicative of Arkansas not being necessarily the better team. I think they played a much better first half, and that created the gap that we just could not close. And that's pretty much how that game went. But Auburn can't afford – I don't think we can get down to this team big Now, they'll let you come back in the game just like most high-scoring teams do because they
and
play
Iowa
so
has
quickly.
had a propensity to do that against better teams, is to build these
Right.
leads and then they squander them, right?
Right.
So definitely
So
can.
the worst thing that I think we can do against a team that scores a lot and is comfortable scoring a lot is let them get hot early.
Yep.
They can't get they can't get their feet set and be like, oh, we out here scoring, let's just score. No, like that's the worst case scenario. You don't want to let a team that is used to scoring get comfortable in that game early. You have to make it so rocky for them and so difficult to run what they want to run, find the shots that they want to find. Now they'll score some buckets because they're a basketball team too, similar to what we did to Missouri, right?
Mhm.
Missouri wants to score. Okay, but you're not. You know you're not, though, right? And
Right.
that gap was insurmountable once we got up big on Missouri because we will defend well and we will keep you. Listen, we're going to start 0-0. You got a shot. If we're going to start 20-0, you're done because you don't defend well enough to hold us down for an entire half or for an entire game. So we have to control it early. We don't even have to get up big early. That would decide the game, I think. If we were to get a 20-point lead in the first half against this Iowa team, yes, I think that spells victory. If we are just in this game, up by 5, down by 5, up by 7 or 8, down by 7 or 8, that's fine. We should still be in control of this game because I do believe whatever action Iowa might be able to find in a first half that's working. Listen, we've come out in second halves and been decidedly better, all except for Kentucky being the one exception. We've come out second halves and defended much better, focused much better. We had a better rebounding game second half against Arkansas. We play better in second halves, and that's fine. But we can't give up the ghost entirely in the first half of this game.
Yeah, I think that's the you hit the nail on the head, is not letting them get offensive confidence early. If you take their will away offensively and they find it, even if they're like, here's the thing, even if they're making tough buckets early, you just can't let them get easy buckets early and let them start to feel confidence in that. You want everything to feel tough. And if they make it, they feel like, oh man, like, I don't even know how I made that shot, or they get overconfident in their ability to make tough shots, that when it stops falling like that in the second half, you have your ability to claw back into games as you have done over and over again. Signs maybe 2 games this season, Kentucky being one of them, or maybe like the Georgia game where it felt like wire to wire, we just weren't in that game. Well, even early Kentucky, we actually played really well, but still second half Kentucky, it was terrible. But you want to keep yourself in striking distance if they are scoring early, so that when they do eventually hit that streak of not being able to score, which they have done over and over throughout this season, that's when you make your push and you start to assert yourself defensively. But again, I think that the thing is you just can't let them start to get up and down the floor and transition on you. You want to make sure that you're getting back and make them play a half-court game. You can push the tempo offensively if you want to, as long as you're getting quality shots, but defensively, you just got to get back.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right. Well, you guys are watching the Morning Drop. Y'all know what it is right here with the War Report. Ike Jones, B. Will in here. We are always sponsored by the Rogue Shop. RogueShop.com is America's number one online dispensary. Make sure you head over to RogueShop.com. Use code REPORT, and that'll let them know that you guys at the War Report sent you. Here on the Morning Drop, we want to hear from you all. So we're going to head to the comment section to see how you all are feeling this morning regarding Auburn versus Iowa. First round NCAA tournament right here in the great state of Alabama, Birmingham, BJCC, right down the road. And I know you guys were wondering, yes, your boys were approved for the media credentials. I will be in the building covering this game. It's time to get to it, man. But let's go and start it off with Frozen Heart Gaming says, having followed Auburn basketball for decades, I'm loving that this type of season is what we think is a down year.
It's refreshing. Refreshing.
Yeah.
For real.
It's good to feel like winning 20 games in a 9th seed in the tournament is like, man, we should have done so much better. We're better than this, Auburn.
Yeah.
I think it's a little premature to have those type of expectations for a team, but it's good that people feel that way. I hate when it goes into this very negative space of we suck and we should have been an NIT team. This team, it's almost as if you're not built to win a championship, you just suck. And it's like, there's a big gap between those two ideas, people. Like, let's calm down a little bit. But listen, I understand fans, man, people just gonna do what they do. Michael Carlisle jumps in. The fact that Auburn fans are complaining about a team that has made the show is the best measure of what Coach Bruce Pearl has done here. Increasing the confidence of the fan base and what the fan expectation is definitely something a coach wants to do. I will say this, and we've seen this with coaches for years who have dealt with tremendous fan expectation. It gets a little wearying though. It does, because you start to deal with a lot of negative pressure from fans due to their entitlement, right? Like we see it with the team in Tuscaloosa all the time in football. Their
Death
coach
threats
gets
to the
on,
kicker.
yeah, I mean, but their coach will have to get on the podium defending his guys because they won 10 games that season instead of going undefeated, and people losing their minds like, oh, the dynasty is done. And it's like, look, man, these kids play hard. Calm down, dog. They had a good season.
Yeah.
Are you guys being for real?
They are. Yeah. I mean, perspective is a great thing and also a terrible thing. If your perspective is that my team should win everything all the time, because you were pretty close to that actually happening. So we had a miraculous run with Bruce for a minute. I think it's fair to say, if you stamp not just the 2019 year, but the 2018 year where we went, one person was hurt. I think it was Dunbar was hurt. And so we got bouncing around to 32. That team and that experience came back and had a miraculous run. And the only thing that stopped us was a bad ref call. In 2020, the thing that stopped us was COVID. And in 2021, the thing that stopped us was a player not playing the NCAA sanctions. So 2020, the 2021-22 season with Jabari and Walker Kessler, then we're back at the forefront and we're number one. But there were a lot of years there where there was not basketball reasons why we didn't get to advance. It's like, yeah, the NCAA keeps our 5-star point guard out. We know why that season goes like that. And we were going to forego that postseason anyway to, make sure we were good with all the NCAA stuff. Bruce has, between 2019 and 2022, when he's had a full deck and a full season, we make noise, or we had reached a new height. And I get why this is the first year where there was nothing holding us back, and we didn't get that. And I understand that disappointment, but you also have to look, what did we have to work with?
Right.
What was in the cupboard? What was our hand that was dealt? Bruce said, all right, this is our hand. Let's go. I got to build these guys up. I have to improve and develop these guys that I have, because, hey, this is not a lost season. These guys have gotten better. KD Johnson has got – I was very bearish on KD last year. Very bearish because of how that season ended.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's remarkable the type of game he had year over year in the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
Go from that Texas A&M game to the game that he had on Thursday. Night and day.
If KD shows up like that against Iowa,
man,
and we get any form of J. Will that we've had previous to that game this season, we might run them out of the building.
Yeah, it's possible.
We might run them out because KD is that much of a spark plug, and Jay Will is that much of a stabilizing force. If you get those two things working for you, I mean, now again, there's a lot of other combinations that have to happen. Alan Flanagan still needs to play well. We can't have Wendell Green turning the ball over a lot or forcing a bunch of bad shots. But if all things staying the same and from Arkansas, and Jay Will plays a little bit better offensively, hey,
listen, man, we and very quietly. Alan Flanagan has been hooping these last few weeks. I know we talk. Everybody
he's
wants
playing
to be,
like he feels disrespected right now, and I've been waiting for this Flanagan for a minute.
Yes, as have I. KD, I know the season was probably humbling for him. Yeah, with what happened to him, he had to get benched, and he came back limited minutes. I think that worked. That's a bit of coaching that won't actually get the spotlight. It will be about what the end of games have been. To turn KD from what looked like a net negative with his plus minus, the turnovers, the missed shots, and how poor he was shooting, to what KD has been the last couple of weeks, coaching, man. It's been a process, and now we have somewhat of a foundation for next year, because if we want to bring more talent in, we're going to get younger. We're going to get younger. We're going to lose a lot of experience after this season. I hope people realize that this type of season, a lot of these players have made some astronomical leaps, and it's going to pay dividends for them and us going forward.
Yeah, I'm loving the maturation I'm seeing out of KD Johnson, and I am loving the fire that I'm seeing out of Alan Flanagan. That's not to say that both of those guys don't have moments in the game where you're like, yo, what was that? Like, what was
Yeah.
that shot? What was that turnover? Like, they're gonna do that. There is literally no player that marches through games and just all of a sudden becomes impervious to making mistakes. But they have turned from what I would have thought were net negatives for the
Mhm.
impact on the game to
Mhm.
very much net positives.
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
accept some of the stuff that they do negatively because you think of the impact that they're going to make positively, and they have been net positives for me over the last couple of weeks.
They have.
P-Pass, as a retort to me talking about how good I felt like Missouri was this season, says we ran Missouri off of the court. We absolutely did, and that was a quality team. So that should show you the capabilities of an Auburn basketball team to run a quality team off the floor.
Yeah.
Marcus Holland jumps in. Is there a TWR bracket challenge group this year? I don't know. I let Mike G handle that kind of stuff. B Will maybe want to jump in on that. You have any
I
thoughts about doing a bracket
don't
challenge?
listen, I want no parts of it. This has been the worst betting college basketball February and March since I started sports betting in like 2011. It has been wild. There was a couple weeks ago, man, where I went like 0-7 on the Saturday. And it's not just like I go with my heart, I go with my head, and then I do all my research. All right, so what are the experts picking? What are the plus minuses? Well, who's got the paint matchup that says that they should win this game? And everybody was just whiffing. I was like, man, there's so much parity. Teams are evenly matched up. And that's something, maybe that's a future conversation we could talk about, how the transfer portal in basketball is not making the rich richer. It's actually evening things out. Probably because you can go anywhere and make a tournament run. The postseason is accessible, so there's less need to go to one of the top tier teams to make a postseason push and get a spotlight on you. But the teams from anywhere can have great seasons. You can get in the tournament. You can be in the Power Five, but just be like the fourth best team in that conference and still make some good progress. It has been crazy. I want no parts, none of trying to pick anything with this tournament. I am a spectator. I am rooting for Auburn, and that's all I'm doing this year.
All right. Well, I'll ask Mike. He was the one who pioneered that last year. We'll see what's up on that. Michael Carlisle jumps in. Anyone know if Neville Arena will be open for viewing the game Thursday? I
They
do not know
usually
the
do
answer for
that.
that, but
They
yes, it's
usually
usually
do
going to
it.
happen. There is
Yeah.
a press conference today.
Mhm.
And so I believe that Mike is going to be at that conference today for basketball, and maybe we'll sneak that question in if Coach Pro does not address it outright at the beginning of the presser. But we will find out that information and disseminate it to those of you who need it appropriately. Actually, I could probably just email Marlene and see what's up. Ben Bloodworth says, I'm still trying to figure out what happened to us during the first UGA game. That's the only loss that makes no sense to me. You're not wrong. We played terrible against a bad team and lost to them.
Yeah.
I don't have a real good explanation about that game either. That's another game. So Georgia is similar to what we just said about Iowa, a team that can score, and if
Mhm.
you give them confidence early, they'll just continue to score.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of what happened in that Georgia game. We didn't play particularly great offense early. Georgia was scoring the ball early, getting a lot of easy buckets, and then the rim just looked enormous, and they just kept scoring.
Yeah.
That's a cautionary tale for Iowa, which is you can't come out here and not match the other team's intensity, specifically on the defensive end, and think that, oh, we'll just pick it up. Come out there, play well defensively early, and make them feel your presence early. And you can go out there and win that game. Northwestern, speaking of common teams, Northwestern, great defensive team, got blown out by Iowa in their first matchup. Conversely, they played again. Northwestern blew out Iowa. Like both of them were like 20-point games, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of parity into how Iowa can play. If you let them get confidence in scoring, they can just keep scoring on you. But if you play good defense on them and you break their will early, it's difficult for them to come back in games, even though they're a good scoring team.
Right.
Because a lot of what they do, it's like Coach Malzahn in his offenses, right? Like when he's cranking, it's like impossible to stop him. But when you shut him down, It's almost as if the offense doesn't work at all. And you're just like, how is this the same offense that just put up 50 last week?
Yeah.
And it's because solid defensive effort, shutting down the stuff that you like to do. And I don't know how to pivot to something else.
Yeah.
What else I'm going to come up with? I ain't got nothing else. That was my trick. You beat my trick. I'm done.
Whoop that trick.
All right, James Barnett. Fellas, I just want these people who said we were NIT bound, along with all the other negative comments, to keep that same energy throughout. I want them to apologize. I don't want them to keep that same energy. I want you to come back and say, you know what? I'm sorry. But you know what? A lot of those people are still keeping that energy and saying we didn't deserve to be there. This is an NIT team. We're going to get bounced in the first round there and embarrassed. Like it's persisting. And so the team is just going to have to prove them wrong at this point, which is, I mean, they can semi-fair, right? Like you earned some criticism for the play that you've had. But I just think that those young men deserve a lot of credit for continuing to play well. 20 wins in the season, and then they got the berth. Let them go out there and do their thing. Support them. Habersham Jim says, hey, the ladies made it to the women's NIT. Let's support the Lady Tigers or Tigerettes. Yes, women's basketball team did get an invitation to the NIT. The seating for that is supposed to be coming out today, if I'm not mistaken. The men's NIT, I think, dropped already. I'm not sure if the women's has yet. I'll go back and verify that. But for those who are not aware of how the NIT works, it's not a regional tournament type of things. It's literally a home and home tournament. So if Auburn is the higher ranked seed, then they'll host it, which I do believe they have an opportunity to be a higher ranked team and possibly host. So if you are a fan of the women's basketball team, please show up. If it's in a town near you and it's not in Neville Arena, please show up there to support those women. They have done, Coach Harris, props to her, had an opportunity to talk with her on building rapport. An amazing job so far in this season, going from a team that won no conference games, and a team that could not win games, period, when she first got there, to last year getting a couple of big wins, upsets, to this year doing what they did this season. Great trajectory, great progression for the women's basketball team. She's really a great recruiter, so we're going to see more talent start to come into that team. She's very confident with the plan that she has going on. Looking forward to seeing the women's basketball team continue to make strides under Coach Harris. CM Pat 1996 says closeout games. That's the assignment. Been the assignment. Listen,
it is.
That's the biggest thing for this team. That's the one number I didn't tweet out last night because it was disgusting for me to look at. Let me go look at this again. I didn't. So again, when I looked at the numbers that I put together, I was only looking at games in which we played other tournament bound teams, right? So for tournament qualified opponents, Auburn is 3-8 in those games decided by 10 points or less. 3-8 in games decided by 10 points or less against teams headed to the tournament, right? So we played 17 of them. 11 of those 17 were decided by 10 points or less. Auburn only won 3 of those games. Conversely, Iowa played 4 games with a margin of 10 points or less, all of which were 5 points or less, and they were even in those games, 2-2. So kind of a coin flip on Iowa as to whether or not they can close out. It's pretty clear that Auburn has had trouble closing out close games against tournament opponents, though. So saying that to say, you have a better chance if you're Auburn of handling business early and not trying to make this a close contest late. Because you just haven't done that well this season. Maybe they can do it. Maybe those 3 games gave them an opportunity, or maybe these multiple bites at it, they've said, hey, we've gotten better at closing out games, and, late in the season, Tennessee late, they actually looked bad for Arkansas at one point in time, and they came back to make that a close game. So, didn't close it out at the end, but did actually grab. This is one of the few times in one of those close games late in the game, under a minute left in the game, Auburn went up and grabbed a lead in that game. Right. So maybe not the result you want as far as the win or loss, but still showing progress late game, because all of those other games that I'm talking about, those other 8 games, we got closer to those teams, but we never pulled back into the lead against any of them. And so again, you look at those things and people are like, oh, Auburn. So it's like, you gotta pull back a little bit and understand where progress is being made. And maybe that's just the fan in me wanting to find hope in things, but it's a reality at the same time, whether we want to accept that reality or not.
Our improvement did not come with more wins. And I think that's what frustrates everybody. But we have been getting better at everything that we were terrible at. We've been getting better. Our shooting, our outside shooting has improved. Our turnovers have improved. Our ability to narrow the gap. Like, we didn't really do much to close the gap against Kentucky. Some of that is Kentucky. They were just playing really well. But listen, man, we fought back against Bama. We the first game against Bama, the second game against Bama, we had a lead. Like, listen, we've been playing well, but yes, closing the game and getting that final shot, that final possession, that has been the deciding factor. And then to your point, I think you said this in the Slack when we were talking about the Arkansas game. It wasn't just about the last possession where KD got the he couldn't get the shot off, and then Wendell didn't make the shot. The possession before that, Wendell drove down, got in the lane, and turned the ball over. That was the possession. That was that possession.
Yeah, that was our opportunity right there to really seal that game, is to go get a quality shot on that possession and then go play and then go get another stop to win the game. You score on that one and then you get a stop, you likely win.
Because we had held them down defensively that entire half. We stood a very good chance. He got buckets when they absolutely needed it.
That boy is cold.
He got buckets when they absolutely needed it. Yeah. But so it's not just been about the last shot. And that's what I want people to realize. It's been about, I think there's fair criticism about Wynn's decision making when the game is tight. And it's not just about whether or not he hits the shot. It's decision making when the game is tight. What's the best possession for us to get, the easiest shot for us to get? And hopefully Bruce can nail that down here with the last our little tournament run that we can make.
Haley jumps in and says, I pray Wendell has a short-term memory and shakes off last week very quickly. He seemed to have a short memory all season, man. He'll bounce back from bad games and come back and have a good one. I think a lot of that has to do with just what happens in the flow of games, and whether or not Auburn is scoring. If Auburn is scoring and Wendell can just kind of play a little bit more free, he plays well. When it gets tight, I think he tightens up a little bit. So, hopefully he'll be able to shake that off.
Yeah.
Couple more here. Stuart Donald says, I wish people would remember that the true joy in watching college sports is watching young men and women grow into their potential. In those regards, this was a good season.
Agreed. Yeah. And I find some more, I don't want to say I get more joy. I want to win. We want to win. The kids want to win. The coaches want to win. The fan base wants to see our team win. But yes, it does feel good to say, you know what, KD, I wasn't high on KD after last year, but man, I am really appreciating how he's been, and how this season has panned out for him. How Allen Flanigan has been balling here lately. We saw. I wish Trey Donaldson started to come on in his role when he got minutes. I like to see guys progress and get better. That's the true hallmark of great coaching, in my opinion, and that's something that will keep our program healthy for the duration of Bruce's tenure. It's really good to see those guys get better, and hopefully they have good experiences that can get them to the next level. Hopefully that progression can pay dividends for them going forward.
Yeah. Last one here from Corey Weber says, Ike, should we be interested in Brakefield? This is the guy who just announced that he is going to be transferring from Ole Miss. Absolutely should be interested in that young man, because he is like 6'7", 6'8", and he can step out and shoot the three, and he plays with good effort on the defensive end. This is a guy that you want on your squad. And if we are going to lose potentially Jalen Williams in this offseason, potentially Allen Flanigan in this offseason, he would be a good guy to step in and be able to provide that power forward, small forward, shooting ability guy that Bruce Pearl would like to have in his team. Yes, we should be interested in Brakefield. I would like to see him on the squad. All right, man, we are about to get out of here. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. Once again, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Go ahead over to Rogue Shop, our sponsor here, using code RAPPORT. Let them know that the War Report sent you. We will be back at you all tomorrow with another morning drop. If you're in the comment section right now saying crazy things, thank you so much for continuing to rock with you guys. But we are out of here until next time. And as always, War Eagle. Peace.
War Eagle.